the death row case of Wendell Arden Grissom? Justice or a tragic end? A single day, a single act, and endless anguish. On a fateful day in 2005, in the quiet of a home where security should have prevailed, a horrifying crime shattered lives. Wendell Arden Grissom invaded that sanctuary, leaving a trail of heartbreak that would forever change those who survived the tragic event. In the chaos of the invasion, Grissom raised his weapon and fatally shot a woman. At that very moment, she was cradling her friend's newborn baby, an emblem of innocence and new beginnings amidst terror. The piercing sound of gunfire ended her life and tore apart a family. The cries of a baby and the haunting silence of grief filled the air simultaneously. The magnitude of grief that followed left lasting scars on her loved ones in the community. This was not merely a crime, but an act so chilling that it spoke to the darkness within humans that defies comprehension. But who is Wendell Arden Grissom, the man at the heart of this horrifying tale? Born into a life unknown to most, Grissom's existence, like many, is shrouded in complexities. Before that fateful day, he was 38 years old, a man already marked by life's difficulties. His background and the path that led him to commit such an unspeakable act remain a point of intrigue and mystery. What pushed him to transform from a man in society's shadows to the perpetrator of a brutal crime? Was it desperation, anger, or something else entirely? However, his subsequent conviction and sentencing to death row began a new chapter for Grissom, a chapter filled with prolonged silence, reflection, and some would argue resignation. Nearly 2 decades later, on a pivotal morning in February 2023, Wendell Arden Grissom faced the cold reality of the justice system once again. The Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board convened to determine his fate during a clemency hearing. Many hoped for justice, some sought mercy, and others awaited closure. However, the decision was far from simple. During the hearing, the board members reviewed the intimate details of his crime and his time on death row. Emotions ran high as the victim's haunting absence was felt throughout the room. But what left everyone stunned was a January recording played during the proceedings, a chilling proclamation from Grissom himself. "I'm ready to go," he said with an unsettling calmness in his voice. "I'm just waiting for the day to get here." Words reflecting what some interpreted as acceptance and others as eerie indifference. When the vote finally came, it was decisive, 4-1 in favor of denying Grissom clemency. The weight of the verdict reverberated in the room, solidifying one stark reality: his execution date of March 20th would go forward. But this decision was not without its controversies. On one side were those who saw Grissom's execution as an act of justice, a form of closure that the victim's family deserved. For them, the horror of that fateful night in 2005 had left wounds that only justice could possibly heal. The clemency hearing, and by extension the denial, became a moment for them to grapple with that pain. On the other side stood advocates opposed to the death penalty, who questioned the morality and efficacy of such a punishment. Could a system built on retribution ever truly restore balance? They believed that Wendell Arden Grissom, having spent nearly 20 years on death row, might offer a unique perspective on remorse, redemption, or the human capacity for change. The debate rang louder as the execution date loomed closer. Was this justice, or was it a societal failure? Now, Grissom waits, as all death row inmates do. March 20th creeps closer with each passing day, and the finality of his sentence hangs over him like a storm cloud threatening to burst. What goes through the mind of a man awaiting his execution? Is it fear, relief, regret, or something far deeper? There is perhaps no other moment in life that so starkly embodies the tension between darkness and light than this: the ending of a life by deliberate choice. What does Wendell Grissom reflect on as he counts down his days? What memories, if any, haunt him in his last hours? It's worth noting that Oklahoma has a history of executions, remaining steadfast in its implementation of capital punishment. Grissom's case, now a part of that history, stands as a microcosm of a frustrated and polarized society grappling with the purpose of state-sanctioned death. As the world watches the countdown, let us not lose sight of the other lives riveted to this date, the family of the victim. For them, March 20th is no ordinary day. It represents a bittersweet step toward closure while reopening the wound of losing someone irreplaceable. The family has been irrevocably shaped by grief and loss, forced to carry the weight of that 2005 day for nearly 2 decades. Their desire for justice is palpable, their yearning for solace deeply understandable. The question remains, will Grissom's execution truly offer the peace they've been searching for, or will it simply mark another chapter of lingering sorrow? For those in the true crime audience, Wendell Arden Grissom's case represents more than just another story. It's an emotional and complex narrative packed with human drama, moral dilemmas, and profound consequences. From the heinous crime to the clemency denial and the looming execution, this case forces society to confront the harshest realities of justice. True crime exists not merely to recount moments of horror, but to dig deeper, examining the motivations, the systems, and the broader implications for humanity. Why do these events happen? What do they say about the human capacity for morality or cruelty? And most vitally, how do we as a society move forward? Grissom's tale is a grim reflection of humanity's darker corners, relatable and horrifying, ordinary and extraordinary, all at once. As we inch closer to March 20th, the broader questions about the legitimacy of the death penalty take center stage. What is gained from executions? Is it retribution, justice, or closure? Or is it simply the perpetuation of pain? Advocates against capital punishment argue that the system is inherently flawed, pointing to the possibility of wrongful convictions, inequities, and the moral cost of taking another human life. Meanwhile, proponents insist on its necessity, especially in cases where the crime is so unforgivable, as in this tragic example. Grissom's case becomes yet another symbol of this polarizing debate. His words, "I'm ready to go," linger as a chilling reminder of the finality of this ultimate punishment. As Wendell Arden Grissom's execution date approaches, the tension between justice, retribution, and mercy remains unresolved. His fatal act in 2005 left indelible marks on a family and a community, yet his own fate stirs bitter debates around fairness and the death penalty. For those closest to the case, for the community of true crime followers, and for society as a whole, his story forces a pause, a moment to confront the deeper truths about crime, punishment, and humanity's collective sense of right and wrong. March 20th will not only mark Wendell Arden Grissom's end, but also leave us questioning whether such an ending truly provides answers, or whether it simply leads to more questions. The line between justice and redemption remains faint, shadowed by the lives forever altered by one violent night in 2005.